Welcome to the Unbound Priestess podcast, a transformative space where we delve into potent conversations, guided practices, and profound teachings designed to help you nourish your sacred gifts, reclaim your personal power, and break free from limiting beliefs. Today, we're going to talk about why your magic fails. There's a frustration I hear again and again from witches at every stage of their path. They always question what's going on with their spells. I hear things like, did I do it right? I think I did everything right. I followed all the steps. I checked all the boxes. I said the words exactly as written, and still nothing happened. If that's ever been you, I want you to take a breath. And I want you to start saying this clearly to yourself. Your magic is not broken, and you did not fail. And with that, I do want to suggest something. And this might feel a bit uncomfortable, at least at first. So sit with it. What if the reason your spells are fizzling, they're not working, has nothing to do with your ingredients, the moon phase, the wording, and has everything to do with how you showed up, how present you were inside of yourself with the words, with the ingredients, with the practice itself. There's a line I'm sure we're all very familiar with from Shakespeare that has been echoing in my mind lately, especially when I hear my students come to me with their frustrations about spell work. And that line is, all the world is a stage and all the men and women are players. When this happens, I keep wondering, what happens when our witchcraft becomes at stage? What happens when our altar becomes a performance piece rather than an opportunity to become present? And when we're doing magic, but not truly embodying it, what happens then? And that's what we're going to explore today. Not with answers neatly tied in a beautiful bow, but with questions that might change how you practice forever. Most witches are taught, explicitly or implicitly, that magic works like a formula. You gather up the right tools, you follow the instructions, you check all the boxes, and if the spell doesn't work, well, you must have done something wrong. This creates a quiet but corrosive belief in our ability and within our magic. That belief that our power lives in the spell and not within us. The authority lives in a book or in the words or in the boxes checked and not in our body. That success is about accuracy and not alignment. And so witches try harder. I know I have. They add more steps. They add more ingredients, more candles, more layers, more sigils, more complexity. But here's a truth that most witches and spell books fail to say aloud. Magic is not mechanical. It's not a mechanical process. It is relational. It is about relationship. It responds not to perfection, but to presence. You can say all the right words, say them flawlessly, and still be absent in your practice. You can follow the formula precisely and still be disconnected. And when that happens, the spell doesn't fail because you did it wrong. It fails or fizzles or sputters out because there was no soul in it. There was no energy inhabiting it. So let's name the difference plainly. Performance versus embodiment. Performing a spell means you go through the motions. You recite the words. Maybe you don't fully believe them, but you recite them anyway. You create affirmations that are just at that cusp of you being able to embody them. You're not quite there. You treat ritual like a task that has to be done a chore. And you measure your success by whether you did it correctly and that you got instant success. What we're looking at here is performance being external. It becomes about form, optics, reassurance. Embodiment, on the other hand, is internal. Embodiment comes to us when we believe the words we speak. We believe that incantation. We believe those affirmations. We feel them in our body. Our body agrees with that intention. It aligns with it. Our practice changes how we live, not just what we do on a daily basis, but our mindset. The spell continues long after the candle goes out because we live it. You cannot outsource the belief you have in your success or in a spell. No incantation can carry the power you refuse to hold for yourself. No ritual can compensate you for self-doubt or boundaries you have not enforced. No formula can replace trust in your presence, in your ability, in your magic. Magic doesn't move because the words are right. It moves. It goes into action because you are aligned. Mind, body, spirit all come together. When spells don't land, it's often because they're being cast from a place of contradiction, a place of self-doubt. We cast abundance spells, prosperity spells, wealth spells, while we feel undernourished, undercharged, while we're over giving. We cast protection spells while ignoring our own boundaries. We cast confidence spells while speaking to ourselves with cruelty. And then we're left wondering why it's not taking. Why isn't the spell sticking? Why am I not different? Why aren't things different? And this is where embodiment matters. Magic requires coherence. Coherence between what you say, what you believe, how you act, and how you live. If the practice hasn't touched your behavior, it hasn't finished yet. A protection spell that doesn't change how you say no is incomplete. A prosperity spell, a wealth spell that doesn't change how you value yourself in the world is unfinished. A self-love spell that doesn't alter how you rest and care for yourself is still theoretical. Magic doesn't want you to perform. It wants you to live. We also need to talk about how the environment many witches are practicing in matters. Social media is a stage. Stages reward performance, entertainment. They reward aesthetics, consistency, visibility, repetition. None of those are bad, in moderation, of course, but they can train us to quietly practice for the witness rather than for the work. It's an outward expression rather than an internalized motivation. A beautifully filmed ritual is not more powerful than a quiet, messy one done with honesty behind the scenes. A viral affirmation doesn't carry more charge than a whispered truth you actually believe. So ask yourself, would I still do this practice if no one was watching? If no one could see what I was doing? Is this spell being cast for me or is it for show? Am I going through the motions or am I embodying this practice? Visibility is not vitality, and magic doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need perfection. It needs you to be present. And here's the part that no one seems to say out loud. Embodiment is quieter than performance. It has less aesthetic and is often a little inconvenient. It shows up when the boundaries are enforced, when you allow yourself to rest, when you speak your truth, when you charge what you're worth, when you value your time and don't give it away freely, when you finally end the patterns that deplete you, that strangle out your energy. Embodiment is when the practice starts showing up in your life. It is when witchcraft leaves the altar and enters the everyday. And this is why I teach everyday witchcraft. This is my goal for you, to make your practice part of your everyday life. I teach witches how to be witches. And yes, this takes time. It takes honesty. It takes a lot of letting go of that fantasy that this one spell, this one word, this one incantation, this one action will fix the deeper problem. As we come to a close, I want to leave you with questions, not instructions, no demands. I want you to just sit, take out your journal, take out your pen, and sit with these questions when you have a chance, when you can fully embody the questions and the answers that come. So here's question 1. When in your practice are you performing instead of inhabiting? What words do you speak in ritual that your body doesn't feel or believe yet? What would happen if you embodied one practice fully instead of collecting many? If you stepped off that stage, what would remain? There's no failure here, only awareness. Awareness is always the beginning of real magic. You were never meant to perform your power. You were meant to live it, to embody it. Before I leave you, there's also a note I want to make about those of us who have come from traumatic pasts, who have been taught and shown repeatedly that we're not safe, we're not cared for. This can be really difficult when we come into spell work and manifestation because we've only been shown the betrayal. We have only been shown the lack. So embodying the idea that we are worthy, that we are capable of giving ourselves the things in life that keep us nourished, that keep us safe, that give us that sense of security can be a very difficult thing. And sometimes that's where we need to start working through those shadows, resolving that remembered history that still is held in our body before we can move forward to create a new future. And shadow work is a difficult thing. This is why I guide many students through it, because it should not be walked alone. You should have support. And when we work on ourselves deeply, our performance is no longer a show. What we do becomes embodied. And if any part of this episode stirred something uncomfortable in you or familiar, I want you to know this. You don't need more spells. You don't need more rituals. You don't need to try again. And you certainly don't need these memorized, check all the boxes formulas. What most witches actually are missing is structure, structure that builds on embodiment, not just information, not just going through the motions. So if you're interested in a more cohesive, guided approach to your practice, I invite you to join me in the Rebel Mystic Coven, where I teach classes twice a month. Or you can join the Witchcraft Skill Trees, This is not a replacement for your intuition. It's not rigid guided rules. It is about proficiency. It's something that I have built around a simple truth. Magic becomes powerful when it is practiced slowly, intentionally, and in relationship with what aligns with you. So check out my website, leandrawitchwood.com, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Blessed be.